The Twilight book series, written by Stephenie Meyer, was first published in 2005 and quickly gained a large following of young adult readers. The series' central romance between a human girl and a vampire boy struck a chord with readers, and the book's themes of forbidden love and self-discovery resonated with many. But Twilight's influence was not limited to its own fictional universe. The butterfly effect caused by Twilight's creation has led to not one, but 3 highly successful book and film universes, with 2 of them, if not all 3 of them, becoming controversial for their content. How did this vampire romance for teens inspire a wave of adult romances that pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable in the mainstream? Let's dig deeper and find out more. Welcome to Kangaroo Reads. Twilight became incredibly successful due to a number of factors. One of the main reasons for its success was the strong emotional connection readers had with the main characters. Readers resonated with the themes of forbidden love, self-discovery, and the struggle between good and evil. As Edward and Bella came from very different worlds, they struggled with the realities about how their relationship was going to work in the long term. From Edward's perspective, the struggle was moral. He was conflicted about whether there were implications of being attracted to a human girl when he himself was, as he perceived it, a monster. Whereas for Bella, the struggle was about her identity. Feeling out of place in the world of the humans and more aligned with the world of the vampires, Bella always felt that for her to become with Edward was for her to become more herself. The series had a dedicated fanbase who eagerly awaited each new installment, and the release of the series' companion novels and companion novellas have also contributed to the series' success. The recent success of Midnight Sun, Edward's perspective of the original Twilight novel, shows the enduring appeal that the series has with its core fanbase, as well as the fact that during the COVID pandemic there was a bit of a Twilight renaissance across the internet. The Twilight series became successful in other forms of media as well, such as an incredibly successful film adaptation, as well as a huge variety of merchandise which further increased its popularity. I don't really need to go on much further about the popularity of Twilight, as it's already been discussed in great depth already in the broader media, and if you're watching this video, you probably already have an idea of how popular Twilight was at its peak. All of the hype and attention on the Twilight series created a passionate fanbase that congregated in many online spaces to discuss their love of the series. This included forums, social networking sites, and blogs. Additionally, the increased accessibility of fanfiction websites such as AO3, otherwise known as Archive of Our Own, Wattpad, and fanfiction.net meant that many fans took a creative approach and would write their own content inspired by the Twilight series. This takes us to the next step of the Twilight Butterfly Effect. "50 Shades of Grey" originated from humble beginnings as a serialized fanfiction titled Master of the Universe, inspired by Twilight. Initially captivating a dedicated fanbase, the story's immense popularity propelled its author towards unprecedented success. Originally posing under the name Snow Queen's Ice Dragon, the author E.L. James was eventually able to publish a lightly edited version of the Master of the Universe fanfiction as a trilogy of books entitled 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades Darker, and 50 Shades Freed. Within the pages of 50 Shades of Grey, there are unmistakable echoes of its Twilight roots. The characters bear strong resemblance, their traits and their dynamics are very reminiscent of their Twilight counterparts. It is quite evident that Anna is a more adult and slightly modified version of Bella. It is quite evident that Christian Grey is a modified version of Edward Cullen. But even side characters and the friendships and dynamics between them also strongly echo the Twilight counterparts. The interplay of forbidden romance, intense emotions, and element of mystery are similarly harkening back to the foundation in the Twilight Saga. Critics too were quick to observe the unmistakable connections, and they often remarked negatively upon what they perceived to be an amateurish writing style, which bore the hallmarks typically associated with serialized fanfiction. It does make sense. The nature of fanfiction is quite different to that of traditionally published works. The fact that it was started as a serialized story means that the plot structures of all 3 books may not necessarily align with the typical expectations of a novel plot. But despite the critics' reservations, the allure of 50 Shades of Grey proved undeniable. It captivated readers, especially adult women, with its tantalizing blend of romance and sexual exploration. Its frank discussions about the BDSM community and about unusual sexual practices awakened dormant passions and sparked discussions about relationships and sexuality in the broader media. For many people, and I imagine for many of you watching this video, 50 Shades of Grey was the first erotic novel that you heard of becoming such a mainstream success. Romance novels and erotic novels are often considered their own subcategory. They're often shelved away to the side, but 50 Shades of Grey brought this genre to the forefront. For the first time, you were seeing an erotic novel being found on mainstream bookstore shelves, being available from maybe the corner shop even, and you're seeing people read it on the bus without any shame. However, 50 Shades of Grey was incredibly controversial for its frank discussion of sexuality, particularly in the portrayal of BDSM. Devoted practices of BDSM and similar sexual practices have often criticized the work for being not an authentic depiction of a healthy BDSM relationship, and have instead criticized the series as showing an unhealthy and potentially abusive power dynamic. In particular, it has been highlighted that 50 Shades of Grey actually increased and amplified the negative aspects found originally in Edward and Bella's relationship in Twilight. Christian Grey is even more controlling than Edward was accused of being, controlling Anna's actions down to what she eats and wears, and also keeping her at an extreme distance from members of her friends and family. The continuing discussion about the controversial aspects has kept 50 Shades of Grey still relevant in popular culture, and it continues to get referenced now as a touch point for abusive or complicated relationship dynamics. The journey from Twilight to 50 Shades of Grey was a testament to the power of storytelling and the evolving landscape of publishing. E.L. James was able to harness her writing ability and a story that she had initially written for free on the internet to instead become a publishing phenomenon that paved the way for other aspiring writers to embrace their own creativity. 50 Shades of Grey still bears a lot of resemblance to Twilight, and it owes a lot of its success to the foundations put forward by Twilight. But it also paved a new path for a wave of fanfiction-based works to become popular in the broader media. It shows how publishing has changed in the modern era. But the butterfly effect of Twilight did not stop there. 365 Days, as it is known in English, is a novel penned by Polish author Blanka Lipinska and was first published in 2016. The story revolves around a young woman who finds herself entangled in a complex situation after being kidnapped by a powerful mafia boss that is obsessively in love with her. Imprisoned and held against her will, she faces a daunting challenge. She is given a period of precisely 365 days to develop genuine feelings of love for her captor. Inspired by the impact and themes of 50 Shades of Grey, Lipinska's 365 Days explores similar extreme subject matter, delving into dynamics of power, unconventional relationships, and the complexities of desire and control. Many felt that 365 Days pushed the boundaries even further than 50 Shades of Grey did, displaying now not just a situation whereby there was an implied power imbalance between the two characters, but a much more physical one. The novel delves into the psychological and emotional journey of the characters, presenting readers with a narrative that pushes the boundaries of societal norms and confronts conventional notions of romance. The protagonist grapples with her predicament and navigates a precarious path that forces her to confront her own desires, vulnerabilities, emotions, as well as her personal safety. The narrative makes readers contemplate the blurred line that could exist between captivity and consent, especially as the main character starts to develop feelings around her captor. It also challenges them to question what personal agency is. 365 Days, just like Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey before it, received film adaptations, and the film adaptations were able to go even more extreme in their frank presentation of sexuality than its predecessors. 50 Shades of Grey, being a cinematic release, was restricted in how much sex it could display on screen. but 365 Days was a streaming release, and so it was able to show much more graphic scenes, further pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable in mainstream media. Additionally, if you compare 365 Days back to Twilight, you can still see some of the core underlying themes being shared between those two stories as well, including the sense of mystery, the sense of danger, and warring political and personal dramas occurring around the side characters. A lot of the criticisms against BDSM and unconventional sexual relationships came back to the forefront with 365 Days, but even more so. The question is, why were these stories, which focused heavily on this BDSM content, so popular? They became popular amongst primarily female fans for a number of reasons. One reason is that these books have offered a fantasy of submission and power dynamics that can be really exciting for some readers. Reading the books in this way allows them an outlet in order to express that desire in a way that they may not be able to do in real life. Additionally, the books can feature charismatic male characters with a strong presence, who are successful and confident, and that can be appealing to readers. Additionally, the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy and the 365 Days series are often considered to be guilty pleasures, things that you enjoy reading, but with the awareness that they may not necessarily be considered high literature on the scale of something like Anna Karenina. They are often seen as a way to escape reality and to experience something that is different and exciting to your everyday life. And that escapism is clearly powerful, as shown by the commercial success of all of these series. Critics of all of these series have argued that the harmful stereotypes and misconceptions around BDSM practices has resulted in an overall harm to BDSM as a whole. Concerns have been raised about the portrayal of abusive dynamics and power imbalances, and the consequences of these depictions being consumed and marketed to audiences who may not possess a comprehensive understanding of the complexities and nuances of BDSM relationships. Critics contend that the book's representation of BDSM often veers into unrealistic or inaccurate territory, distorting the understanding of what constitutes healthy and consensual engagement within the BDSM community. They argue that the works may mislead readers by blurring the boundaries between consensual kink and non-consensual abuse, failing to emphasize the importance of clear communication, trust, and mutual respect that underpin healthy BDSM dynamics. There is the potential that stories such as these can normalize unhealthy power dynamics and abuse within broader society. The widespread popularities of these novels may contribute to a climate where these behaviors and relationships have control, coercion, and unequal power distribution, and they're seen as acceptable by everyday people. This can have detrimental consequences for individuals who may struggle to differentiate between healthy and abusive dynamics in real-life relationships. Because these books are often marketed to a wide and diverse readership, they may include individuals who don't understand BDSM or who have never encountered it before. Without the necessary context and knowledge, these readers can develop skewed perceptions, reinforce stereotypes, and perpetuate misconceptions about BDSM relationships. But this is why it is incredibly important to critically engage with the media that you consume, and this includes anything that you consider a guilty pleasure. The truth is, when it comes to novels such as Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey, and 365 Days, it is an incredibly nuanced conversation with many sides. There are positive elements to draw from each of these works, as well as negative, and it is up to the reader to determine how they interpret these stories and how they engage with them in their everyday life. If you consider the books to just be an escape from your everyday life, rather than incorporating a lot of the potentially harmful messages into your own life, then you can have a healthy and interesting dynamic with these works. It's important to note that all of these criticisms that we've discussed reflect a range of perspectives within ongoing debates surrounding the portrayal of BDSM and unusual sexual practices in popular culture. While some argue for more accurate and responsible representations, others believe that these works offer an opportunity for dialogue and exploration, and it allows people to further educate themselves about these practices. Overall, we recommend that you educate yourselves on healthy relationships and consent, and if you enjoy these books and find it genuinely fulfilling, then you can continue to engage in them. Who could have imagined the effect caused by Twilight when it first released all those years ago? I don't think anyone could have ever predicted the resulting effect that Twilight has had on popular culture. Not just caused by its own works, but by the works that have been inspired from it. And it can be argued that the butterfly effect caused by Twilight is even further than what we've discussed here today. Now we live in a world whereby adaptations of fan fiction are now quite common across broader media. For example, one could consider the After series of books and movies as another example of Twilight's butterfly effect stretching out into popular culture. What this has shown is that in spite of the controversy, and in spite of the criticism that has been leveled against the Twilight series, it has shaped society as a whole, and that cannot be denied. Once the butterfly effect has started, you can't go back, and we are now living in a post-Twilight world, where its effect has undoubtedly shaped everything that we touch. What do you think about this? What do you think about Twilight, about 50 Shades of Grey, 365 Days, or any of the works that have been inspired? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. We publish a variety of bookish content, including discussions like these on the broader impact of literature. So, make sure to subscribe to Kangaroo Reads and turn on the notification bell to ensure that you never miss an upload. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy reading.